Well, here it is Sunday, and not quite noon, but getting close. I don't know how quickly I'll get this all done and put it out there, but it'll be out today for sure. Well, there's been a lot of action this past week on the internet. Some of the action going on in and around Otter Creek, and some of it in another state. In any case, there's been a lot of clearing of questions out there, and along with that, more questions are asked, of course. Everybody right now is always looking for proof of what has been talked about, what somebody's doing, and hard telling how long all that will take, but I can tell you right now that a lot of the documentation has been shown on the different channels out there. And I've been following through on some of them to see what's going on. As far as my investigative powers, I don't have anywhere near the equipment or really the knowledge to go as far as what these other channels have. So I rely mainly now just listening to them and see where it takes us, that's all. So just consider me, along with the rest of you there on my channel, I am more or less following the wave as it plays itself out on the beach, if you want to call it that. Some of it is heartbreaking, and some of it is a lot of it that we've suspicioned all along, as far as Jeremy himself, his attitude and things that he does are pretty easy to judge from his past, because his future seems to hold more of the same. I don't see a big change, or a change that he's even willing to take, if at all. Or the fallacy of, hey, we need to let people work it out themselves. It hasn't worked itself out in all these years. I can't imagine it working itself out in any more years in the future. Do you? Now, Jeremy is a big fish in a small town, Otter Creek. It's 100 people. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anybody in that town that could, at this point, could stand up to the power that he seems to be able to swing financially, or with the amount of people that he has made friends with. And he doesn't mind using those powers or the finances to get what he wants, kind of like a kid in a candy store. And that pretty much describes him. Of his the entire personality is like a kid in a candy store, and he throws tantrums. The video that I seen of his child was a tearjerker at the very least, and it really kicks you. It hurts, and sometimes it makes you think of your own children, and it almost makes you run and ask them how they feel, because you never know. You just don't. I felt sorry for him, because I can see that it weighed heavily on his mind, and has certainly molded him to a certain extent. And only time will tell if this young man is going to be able to go out into the world and make his own mark, and what he's truly going to be, or what he's going to do in the future. And we haven't seen his siblings, nor have we heard anything about him. So I don't know if that's something that's going to come down in the future or not. I'm assuming that Jeremy's going to do whatever he can to make sure that the rest of the world, or at least the channels on here, are not going to be able to see that part of his life if he can. He can be vicious in his way of trying to control things. We all know that. And you do have to be careful where you step. I've told you about getting out in that pasture and stepping in those pines. The stink will follow you wherever you go once you stepped into one. I wanted to tell you, I look at other things other than this little town. I like to look at the players in the entire world. And you might ask, well, how do you do that? Well, we all know that financial entities really have the most power. Money buys about anything that you can think of if you want it. And if you have the power that money brings, you can go out there and do about anything. I worked for a man in business, and he was a very sharp person, and he said that businesses follow the golden rule. And I'm going to tell you what a business golden rule is. Those that have the gold make the rules. So now you know a little bit about why a big fish would choose to be in a small pond. They can gather security, for one thing. It fulfills their need to be way up here. And for you that are way down there, you are the minions serving that guy up here. I know you don't like that analogy, but that's just the way it is. On the world stage, I would like to tell you about a company that is far more dangerous than somebody like Jeremy could ever be or ever will be. And if you don't believe me, you just get on that little old keyboard and you type in the words BlackRock Investments and start doing a little bit of research on it, and you're going to get a lot of different things that come up under that. They have pieces of a lot of companies, and they're more than an investment company. They actually own a lot of stuff. They don't just control stock for people. They're an investment firm where people come to them and say, here's my money, put it in the right place. They control somewhere in the neighborhood of $30+ trillion. That's a lot of money, folks. It's a lot of power. They're one of the few companies, if any, that actually has a company in China, an investment company in China. I want you to think about this. They are able to control money within the confines of China. I don't think any country out there can do that. But this company has that kind of clout. Financially, if they want to use that clout, they can control just about any government in the whole world. And you're going to say, well, how can they do that with 30 trillion? They don't even own all that. They just invested. Invested money means a lot of things. It means the economy in any one place that they want to play with that investment can be lifted or lowered at any moment, like that. Stock market opens tomorrow. If they wish, they could bring the United States to its knees within an hour or two. And they could keep us on our knees for a week or a month if they wanted to. Think about it this way. They control more money than this country takes in to run its budget. It comes right down to it. We, as a country, are in debt. In debt, we owe others a little over $15.6 trillion. That's a lot of money, folks. And because of that, our bond rating starts going down and we have to pay higher interest if we borrow money. Right now, the Feds are somewhere around 5.5%, I think, and they said they're going to cut the interest rate. Now, why would they do that? Well, they want the economy to move a little faster, more money to be exchanged. Okay, so when they lower that interest rate down. What's that do? Well, that means that if you go out and buy a car, you won't have to pay as much for it. If you buy a house, you won't. Now, the upfront cost at first is right here. But as the money's available, the cost, the raise of that cost of that house will go like this, along with the payments. Now, you can do it slowly so that everybody can kind of catch up with it wage-wise. The whole works. But if you do it suddenly, it causes an upheaval like this. It's like a earthquake. Money, people are afraid to spend the money. Then they put it in the bank. Well, when the money stops flowing, the economy takes a deep dive. You have to keep that money flowing. Well, what happens if it flows too fast? Well, then that's when inflation comes in. Remember the inflation that happened in the first 2 years of the Biden administration? They'd spent trillions now of dollars, and they had to borrow the money to spend it. That caused the markets all kinds of fits. And they had to raise interest rates to pull the inflation down. Okay, that's how it works. My buying power in over the last 4 years has slumped about 40%. Now that's huge. At the same time, I had people out there when I was trying to explain it, they said, wow, I didn't have the trouble you had. I've got more money now than I had at the beginning of his administration. I laugh at that because you must think I'm a fool. I actually, actual dollars. I have a few more of them too, but they won't buy as much as what the dollars I had 4 years ago. Now I know that won't sink in too much. Some of you don't understand what money is. In real terms, you look at the dollars and say, well, I've got $100 today, but the $100 will only buy $60 worth of goods that would have bought back 4 years ago, or actually a little over 3.5 years ago. So what I'm saying is I've lost ground. No matter what I do with my finances, I went backwards. The Dow is as high as it's ever been, ever. And yet, the buying power of the money that's within that cap doesn't buy as much. I don't know what part of that you don't understand, but when you go to the grocery store, here's what I tell you. If your wife does the buying of groceries, ask her how tough it is to buy groceries today. Now, you already know what it costs to fill your gas tank, and you've forgotten what it cost to fill it 3.5 to 4 years ago. Actually, go back 4 years. Gas got in most places, under $2 a gallon. That puts a smile on your face when you think you can spend $2. When I was a kid, it was less than 25 cents a gallon. And when the gas war come along, it was 14 cents a gallon. That just gives you an idea of what has happened over the years. If your country itself spends money that you don't have and has to borrow it, inflation sets in and you can buy less. So all of you that had money in the bank, in a savings account, CDs, things like that, you weren't able to keep up with inflation rates. That's why you can't buy as much. I bought a brand new car back in 1977. If I was to buy that same car today, it would cost me $60,000 or $70,000. I paid 1/10 of that back then. And a few years before that, I paid a lot less, and I had a better car. Whew. Inflation was starting to burn up back in the 70s, and it took a lot to bring it back down to earth in the early 80s. And when they did that, then in 1987, the stock market took a dump and went down about halfway, and that caused heartaches like you wouldn't believe. Businesses were going out of business. Companies were pulling out of the United States, going somewhere else. It's tough to face something like that when the economy is doing this up and down. Well, now, the company I talk about plug it in. It's called BlackRock Investments. And see how many companies come under their scrutiny. And you're going to get an eye-opener of how much control this company has. They also have people that were former executives in that company that are big shots working under Biden. Now, I don't know if these people are going to work under the next regime that goes in there, whether it is Democrat or Republican. People with a lot of money are able to get these specific positions because they know how to handle money. So they work in the finance end of our country. And a lot of it is to keep us afloat. They're not going to let us sink if they can help it. So it may not be such a derogatory thing to have somebody like BlackRock, former executives, working within our financial end of our government, because they're not going to let it fail. But they have the power to. That's a worrisome thing, because then you wonder who is actually running our country. I couldn't tell you at this point. But there's a lot of people out there that will comment on here. They'll tell you who's really running it. They'll tell you. They're experts, right? They're probably the same people that told me that they made so much money in the last 3.5 years that they're better off than they were 3.5 years ago. Whew. I guess, they have some secrets that I don't have, and I've been around a long time fooling with the financial markets, and I've worked in big business quite a few years. I've been out of it quite a few years, but big business doesn't change a whole lot. They do everything they can to influence what they can that will enhance their power within the market. And yes, they go down to look at different things. The grocery store looks at how can we cut our costs and still charge more. Everybody has to eat in a downturn. Sometimes the grocery industry does very well. And once they bring the price up, they rarely bring it back down. They'll have specials to get you in the door. But the average price within their store, the percentages that it went up, are not going to change a whole lot when the economy settles back. And it always does. It goes like this, and then it just kind of comes down a little bit. It's like a deliberating disease. Mine, for instance. When I get taken down a couple of years ago, I bottomed out a long ways down. And then I was brought up. Medications bring you back up. And then you slowly start coming back down. See, you lose a certain part. With me, I lost, I've got about a third of my lungs. I had about half of it before I got super sick here a couple of years ago. And it affects even the way I talk right now. And you hear me clearing my throat from time to time. A few years ago, I didn't have to do it anywhere near as much. I didn't cough as much. I live as well. I'm telling you, it just slows me down. I'm alive. If I take oxygen, I have a little thing I stick on my finger to check my oxygen. It's very good. But when I get up and walk 20 feet, my heart rate goes up at least 50% quickly. My oxygen will go down, and then it'll slide right back up, as long as I don't get out there and go too fast. If I go too fast, it just keeps on going down. And it takes longer for it to come up, and my heart rate really starts jumping. One night it went from 42 beats, which is normal for me. I take medication to keep it very slow, okay? And the first 6 months that I took this medicine, it caused a lot of dizzy spells. The normal heart rate will be over 60. So one night it jumped up to around 120, 125. My blood pressure was going crazy. I don't know what caused it, but it caused me to go bonkers for a little bit. Quite frankly, it scares the heck out of you. And sometimes your heart will go, and you can physically see your chest moving. When that ticker starts really bouncing, you can see it. So I take it easy as much as I can. I try not to let life bother me too much. And physically, I already know how much I can do. This is kind of the extent of it. Sitting in a chair, talking on here, trying to make sense of everything out there in the world. And sometimes I get really banged when I get into a big fish in a small pond, when yet I can actually see what's going on in the world through this thing by looking at statistics. Do I get worried about it? Why would I get worried about everything? Because, quite frankly, I'm not going to be here to see the end of a lot of the things that are going on today. I'm just too old for that. But I can look at it and guess at it and look way out there and say, hey, I know what happened in the past when it did this, so therefore I can see a little bit of that. Do I play with my money? No, I don't. Matter of fact, when things were going bonker, I didn't change some of my portfolio that had kept me on an even keel, and I lost some money in that first 2 years that I shouldn't have lost. I screwed up. I'm not an expert by a long shot. I kicked back and I said, when I drew this thing up to retire on, I kicked back and I said, well, I don't have to worry about money unless I change the way I spend it. I didn't realize I was going to have to change my way no matter how I wanted to spend it, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to have anything in a few years. I'm not anywhere near out there with millionaires or anything like that. I rubbed elbows with millionaires for quite a few of my years, and it was fun. But the day came where I had to put some of that away. Oh my goodness. Just to be able to retire and be an average Joe. And that's all I am at best. I love it where I'm at. My wife and I planned this out. Am I a big shot in a small town? Well, I live in a small town, but I'm not even a big shot in my block. And I'm not trying to be. I just not. On a job site, I was the man to go to if you wanted to find out something about that particular job. But I've never been the man to go to for everything in the world. Never. And I won't be. One thing, young people aren't going to listen to me anyway. I lead a softer, easier life. I try not to encumber myself with too many worries out there. I've seen all the blowhards there are in the world. Jeremy almost takes the cake. Do I hate him? No. Do I like him? Absolutely not. I don't care for this guy. He is what he is, and it's change as much as he wants. I don't believe this man will ever change the stripes he's got. He is what he is. So when you go out there and you attach to somebody like that, he's going to take you down a path you may not want, morally or financially. He's not going to let you get ahead. This BlackRock, just to let you know, now if you go on there and you do some inquisitive things, be very careful if you say something negative. You're not fooling with Joe Blow down the block. You're fooling with the most powerful company in the entire world. Jeremy likes to put a plant behind him when he talks. Say, hey, the planet, right? Okay. This company truly represents the planet. Truly does. BlackRock does. To step on their toes, more dangerous than stepping on a water moccasin. You do not want to do it, but it's okay to look at it and see what's going on there. Matter of fact, it might even help you financially to see what direction they're taking. Now, the stock that they play with, they play both sides of the fence because they can. I told you one time, nobody likes somebody that's on top of the fence. Well, in fact, in the financial world, they are on that fence. They control opposing companies that make the same products, and they can make one bigger than the other overnight if they want to. They can play with it to that extent. These companies know that, and they're not going to move against BlackRock. Their base, I told you, what they're worth is between 10 and 13 trillion dollars. If you think about that a little bit, this is a huge, huge amount of money, more than you'll ever realize. I've got two different classmates that I went to school with that actually got into the billionaire status. Now, one of them made a bad move, and he is in the millionaire status, multimillionaire, but he'll never be in the billionaire status again because he made a bad move. When I looked at his financials, and I didn't have any kind of money like that, but I seen him making some mistakes. But he came into a trap where he was going to have to do the things that he did. And because of that, in the technology, tech stages, he invested too much in old technology. And that took him down. It's a tough thing when you put all your eggs in one basket. I've never done that. I've never been greedy enough to do that. And therefore, I was able to retire and live the life that I want to. Greed will either make it or break it for you. Hit the wrong step and you're done. So when you get out there and play in the world of power, if you live in a small town and somebody like Jeremy comes along and he starts buying your town up, he is the power and he will be the power as long as he decides to be in power. You're not going to take him out. The other thing is, somebody like that usually will cushion themselves with a lot of followers. Jim Jones effect is about the easiest way to tell you how it is. They would rather drink the Kool-Aid knowing that they will not see tomorrow than to live without the person. They will believe everything that is spoken. If you're the silver-tongued snake, you have all the things you need to take all the people down that rabbit hole with you. So for all of you that watch me, I'm not the silver-tongued snake. I'm just an old guy that settled into retirement and looks at what goes on in the world. Why would I do that? Well, part of it is because I want to make sure that I'm not going to get taken down like I did a couple of years ago financially and all of a sudden wake up to it and say, oh my goodness, why did I do that? Because really that was the reaction. And my wife and I sat down and we scrambled. Am I keeping up with inflation? I am right now. Right now I am. Can I make up for what I lost? No. I don't control the market. I'm never going to be able to control it. I don't have that kind of money. I have to follow what somebody else is doing to exist out here. I'm just not a big shot. Would I like to be? I don't want that worry or that strain. I'm satisfied. And all I'm trying to do is make it till the good Lord calls me home. Hopefully, I don't get called. I mean, let's put it this way. I would like my wife to outlive me because I can't imagine a life without my partner. We have been together since high school. It's hard to believe when you find a partner you spend your whole life with, even imagining what would be like without that person. They are as much part of you as you are of yourself. You think in unison. That's what happens. What we have, we truly have. We do that. We have that. We control what we do. Yes. Now, to saying that if I walk in a store, if I want something, do I buy it? And I don't go ask my wife permission. I don't ask for permission, but I guarantee you, I'm going to tell her what I bought. I don't go in the backyard and smoke or anything like that, and I don't go to the tavern and drink. I don't have the habits, for one thing. But I'm not going to hide if there's something there, because we know each other so well. We can't even hide the toothpaste, probably. But no, we don't share our toothpaste. There are certain things that they're private, just like anybody else, I guess. Well, I don't know what else to talk about today, but I did want to give you something to chew on. Remember this. Look at BlackRock investments. I don't want you to think on the scale that this Jeremy has in a small town, because that's all he is, a big fish in a small town. And in the YouTube world, there are a lot of people with much more going on, followers, the whole works. he has a lot of people that are better liked than him. No matter what his size is, he's never going to. There are people out there of smaller followers that are much better liked. They're there because of the skill, not the trickery. But in a big world, a company that handles nothing but money controls a lot of countries and what they do, and companies themselves. No country can exist without a way to have money flowing. Those that control the flow of money control that country, that company, everything else. So country and company. Investment firms rule the world. I know you're going to say, well, they don't own the world. But this company, they're worth between 10 and 13 trillion dollars at any one time. And they have grown extremely fast. And if they keep this growth up, Lord help us all. Because it'll be their rules no matter where you go in this world. You can't get away from it. Well, with that, I'm going to let you go. I'll give you some little things. The last time I told you how to breathe and be able to do something, you take 3 deep breaths, you purse your lips each time to let it out. The pressure expands your lungs a little bit, even though you're letting the air out. And all of a sudden, you feel a euphoria about you where the adrenaline's rolling through your body, and it's better than a drink. It's a good habit. Take a deep breath. It's better than counting to 10. It'll stop the fight. It'll make you think twice about it because it gives you better sense. I never thought that I'd have to depend on something like that in an emergency. Who would have thought? My next step is going to be carrying one of them tubes around with me with a little box down here that's an oxygenator. If I'm even willing to do that. I'm hoping that the deterioration that is continually going on because of the COPD will take one of my other organs that will put me to sleep quicker than having to slave away, letting my body slowly die from lack of oxygen. I would rather one of my organs died first to take me quickly, preferably maybe the heart. But whatever it is, if it's in my sleep, well, good Lord, if you hear me up there. Yeah, I know a lot of you, and I don't. For the people out there, you know that I am a Christian, and I don't hold it against people that are not. The only thing I can tell you, what have you got to lose? But regardless of that, I know a lot of people tell you that. And no, I don't like to hear a lot of swearing, but I understand people are going to swear. And if you don't like it, there's not much you can do about it. I mean, you can block it out or put earplugs in or go on about life, but no matter how good a Christian you are going to have this stuff inundate you. And you have to learn how to live with it, because at this point, you're not going to be out there without it. It's going to be there. You have to deal with it just like anything else. Most of the people that swear aren't doing it necessarily as a derogatory thing. A lot of times it's just a word, nothing more. And sometimes it's to get attention. Not a big deal, right? In my years of work in construction, believe me, it became a habit of mine. And it was hard to dispel it and get it out. And every once in a while, yeah, I let a word out too. I guess it's maybe one of the reasons it don't bother me as much if I have to be around it. I prefer not to be, but that's not a big deal. If I'm going to be in this world, I have to be able to look at all of it. How can you know a good side of a person if you don't see the bad side? How can you judge a person? How can you judge the world even? People out there, I don't care what kind of an occupation they have. I know sometimes they throw things out, whether it could be a prostitute or I know you jump on that pole dancer all the time out there. But it was the living they made. Maybe they didn't have a choice. Maybe it's in their genes. I don't know. You know, the Lord was out there willing to accept anybody for just about anything. What gives us the right not to look at it and try to go on with life? Does it mean we have to be a pole dancer or follow in that footsteps of that person? No, not in the least. We don't have to sit down to dinner if we don't want to. If you don't want to listen, you don't have to listen. Now, if a person is swearing on here, if it gets overwhelming, I may turn off the channel, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it. Information can be valuable to you, so you're going to follow the trail of information. Is some of it going to rub off? Well, hopefully not. Hopefully you can get around things, the temptations to, whether it be swearing or following suit. I mean, there's a lot of things we don't want to be. We don't want to get drug into it, right? You're not going to jump off a bridge, I hope. Well, there are people that have. What else can I tell you? And by the way, I was Baptist, and I say was. I am Baptist. My children were raised in the Baptist church. I had friends where the families went in different churches. The kids went in one, usually with the mother, and the father might go with a different one, maybe with his parents, or just on his own. We all have differences in how we believe and the things that we do, say, and what we belong to. Think of this world, if we were all the same, how boring, absolutely boring it would be. Am I going to judge somebody because they don't go to the same church I do? Absolutely not. Now I know, hey listen, on my grandma's side they're Irish. There's a lot of battles go on in Ireland between Christianity type and the Catholic. It's a fight, and but they're Irish. In our country, we have the right to believe in whatever religion or not believe as we want, and you have to respect those rights in everybody. So if you don't believe in Christ, I'm not going to give you a bad time. I'm secure in my belief, and I'm not going to go out there and preach to you. Absolutely not. I've known a lot of good people that profess to be atheists. They act in a good way. They have morals and the whole works. Do I have trouble sitting down with somebody like that and eating supper? No. In the business world out there, I had to survive and not look at somebody or judge them to that point. I judged them through a business eyes, not necessarily because of my Christian background. And somebody's going to get after me for that, maybe. Well, if you can't accept people for what they are, I don't know how you can accept yourself. We all do things that we shouldn't in some manner, or the group that we belong to. What I would wish for you out there is behave like a gentleman or a lady. That's all. Groups tend to hang with each other by what they are. I know, it's called birds of a feather. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. Just do it. My dad worked in a retail environment that happened to be, he was in the repair end of it. And he dealt with everything you could out there, and he might hate somebody, but if he didn't put a smile on and deal with it, he wouldn't have had a job the next day. Sometimes it's that way. To enjoy life, look at it from different eyes. Remember, if you spend your whole life judging somebody, you probably, and I know, a lot of you say, well, Ray, you judge. Hey, listen, I don't get to sin, and I call it out. What the heck? If I don't like something they're doing and I say that I don't like it, well, that's my way of saying it. Okay, I'm going to do that. But if you encumber your entire life over doing that and looking for bad things, you're going to feel bad. I choose to look at the best part that I can. And the other thing is I retreat from that world to be at my home with my thoughts, with my wife. I found a comfortable spot so that I can get along in this world. You can too. if you follow my example, and I fell down so many times. I've got lots of scars and scabs and all kinds of stuff on me. The other day somebody said, well, they were worried about the lice that those poor kids had over there. Well, I didn't have lice, but I had impetigo on my arm here at one time. So did my brother. I ended up with ringworm when I was in third grade, and most of the town had ringworm, most of the kids, because they went to the theater, they got it off the seats, I guess. We were told they thought that was the common denominator. We all ended up with shaved heads and putting that awful smelling medicine on our heads, and rolled up silk stocks wearing right here, like a little beanie, and then we put our baseball hat over that. And my pictures in third grade, they had that on there. Kids get diseases. They get all kinds of things. I used to go hunting. I used to get ticks on me from hunting. I don't know if I ever had any lice on me. I've never heard my parents say anything about that. And as an adult, I haven't. But you can get it. I'm just telling you, you can get lice. So it's not something bad about it. Yeah, I remember a family that did get them, and for a while people went, but it didn't last long because, quite frankly, the lice were gone pretty quickly. Their friends were right around them, and back then it was more of a joke than anything. They didn't hold somebody to the fire over it. I don't know why people make such a big deal out of small things today, but they do. So I guess take everything with a grain of salt and move on with life. If you want to be a happy person, you have to be able to take some of those things. Now, when you get people that run over everybody around you and make fools out of them and all kinds of stuff, you have to stand up to it. If you don't stand up to a bully, they're not going to change. You can kick the can down the road and they'll move from there to another place eventually. They're going to do the same thing till the day they're not here. That's just the way of a bully. So, as you go after these people and you contain them, okay, chances of them changing their lifestyle is next to none. I don't think you ever will. Can you trust them? I wouldn't. Never. Ever. Nope. Will they ever be a good person? I don't think so. Do they look good? They're very good at it. Gift of the gab. They can do it. Don't get pulled in. Be yourself. Stand up. Be the lady that you always were or could have been. Stand up and be it today. If you're a man, you can stand on your own 2 feet. All you got to do is stand right up, look somebody in the eye, and say, "This is me. I am going to do it my way." Okay? You can be that person. You do not have to follow a goat. Okay? That goat might take you over a cliff. With that. Ooh, that's pretty bad. I wouldn't want to follow a stinking goat. Have you ever been around a stinking goat? What would the name of that person be? With that, have a good day.